The Story Vault presents Gold Rush. Episode 1. Dust and Dreams. The soft rustle of leaves sways in the breeze, mingling with the gentle babble of a nearby stream. Birds chirp lazily in the warm afternoon sun. An old prospector hums to himself, his voice a gravelly tune lost in the vast wilderness. His worn boots sink into the muddy bank as he crouches low, swirling a battered pan through the water, eyes squinting against the glint of sunlight on metal. "Come on now, old girl," he mutters, grinning at the pan as flecks of dirt swirl away. "I know you're hiding something shiny for me today." The rhythmic clink of gravel against metal fills the air, blending with the soft creak of his joints as he leans back, inspecting his work. His bright eyes catch a glimmer, a tiny nugget nestled in the pan's edge. A chuckle rumbles from his chest, light and full of life. "Well now, wouldn't you look at that?" He tucks the nugget into his pocket, the smile never leaving his weathered face as he hums an old tune, the melody mingling with the rustling leaves and the distant call of a crow. The crackle of a small campfire cuts through the cool evening air. Sparks drift into the darkening sky, their glow flickering against the rough canvas of a weathered tent. A man sharpens his pickaxe with slow, deliberate strokes, the scrape of metal on stone steady and sure. Across from him, a young girl sits on a log, her fingers tracing the edges of a small, worn locket. Her blue eyes flicker with the reflection of the flames, distant and restless. "You're not listening again," his voice is low, tinged with both patience and quiet frustration. "I am," she replies softly, though her gaze remains fixed on the horizon where the sky meets the jagged peaks. I don't see why we have to stay out here forever." The sharpening stops. Silence stretches between them, filled only by the crackle of the fire and the distant howl of a lone coyote. "Gold don't find itself, sweetheart," he finally says, his tone firm but gentle. "And when we strike it big, you'll have all the city dresses you could want." She says nothing, her fingers tightening around the locket. The fire pops, sending a shower of sparks into the night, but her dreams drift far beyond the flickering light. Dustwater hums with the restless energy of fortune seekers and drifters. Boots clatter against the wooden planks of the boardwalk, mingling with the braying of mules and the creak of wagon wheels. The saloon doors swing lazily, letting out bursts of raucous laughter and the sharp twang of a piano. She rides into town, her horse's hooves kicking up little clouds of dust that swirl in the hot afternoon sun. Her hat shields her eyes, but nothing hides the contrast between her delicate features and the gritty, unforgiving world around her. She dismounts outside the general store, the wooden sign above the door creaking in the wind. The bell jingles softly as she steps inside, the air thick with the smell of sawdust and old tobacco. Behind the counter, the storekeeper's narrow eyes follow her every move, his fingers tapping against a small leather-bound ledger. She gathers the supplies quickly, her mind elsewhere, her thoughts dancing with dreams of bustling city streets far from this dusty place. The bell jingles again as she steps back onto the street, arms full of supplies. 3 rough-looking men block her path, their faces shadowed and their intentions unclear. "Well now, you sure you're out here on your own?" the tallest asks with a grin that doesn't quite reach his eyes. His voice is slick with mockery. Another reaches for the bag in her arms. "Maybe she's got something valuable in there." She stiffens, her heart pounding in her chest, but before the men can move closer, the air shifts. The street grows quiet, the usual clatter and chatter fading into a tense stillness. Bootsteps echo down the boardwalk, slow and deliberate. A shadow stretches across the dirt, long and lean. The drifter steps into view, his wide-brimmed hat casting his face in shadow, but the glint of a cigarillo at the corner of his mouth catches the light. His piercing gray eyes flick to the men, cold and unreadable. For a moment, no one moves. The tension crackles in the air, thick as the dust swirling around their boots. One of the thugs sneers, taking a step forward. The drifter's hand moves faster than the eye can follow, and in an instant, the men freeze, their bravado draining away. No words are spoken. None are needed. The thugs hesitate, the bravado draining from their faces like water through a sieve. They back away, muttering curses under their breath as they disappear down the street. She stands frozen, her breath shallow. She opens her mouth, a quiet thank you on her lips, but the drifter doesn't wait. He tips his hat slightly, the cigarillo glowing faintly in the corner of his mouth, and turns, disappearing into the dusty haze of the street like a ghost. The river glows gold under the setting sun, its surface rippling with the gentle current. The old prospector kneels by the water's edge, humming an old tune, his pan glinting in the fading light. He swirls the water with practiced ease, his eyes sharp despite the years etched into his face. Another small nugget gleams in the pan, and he lets out a soft chuckle, tucking it into his pocket. "Ain't no place like this," he murmurs to himself, gazing out at the endless wilderness, the sky painted with streaks of pink and orange. His voice blends with the sounds of nature, the chirping of crickets, the distant hoot of an owl, and the soft rustle of the evening breeze. The campfire crackles, casting flickering shadows on the rough faces of the rocks and the soft curve of the girl's cheek. Her father talks of plans, of the gold they'll find, of the future he sees just over the next ridge. But she listens with half an ear, her gaze fixed on the flames, the memory of cold gray eyes and a glowing cigarillo lingering in the back of her mind. The fire pops, sending a shower of sparks into the dark, and the night settles around them, heavy with unspoken words and dreams left hanging in the air. If you enjoyed this episode of Gold Rush, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the Wild West. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.